His cars changed the world. His thoughts built it. In the world of innovation, Henry Ford wasn't just a pioneer of the automobile. He was a builder of ideas. But what made him truly iconic wasn't just the creation of the Model T. It was his process. He believed that thinking was the hardest work of all, and that is exactly why so few people ever truly do it. Before a single machine was built, Ford spent countless hours visualizing, planning, questioning, and refining. His golden rule was simple: think first, then build. Before the factory lines roared and tires hit the road, Ford imagined a world where the car wasn't just a luxury, it was a tool for freedom. He didn't chase profits, he chased purpose. And that purpose was rooted in a deep understanding of people's daily lives. We asked, what do workers need? What do families want? What can I build that actually changes the way they live? These questions shaped every bolt, every engine, every mile. Ford's process began not in steel or in oil, but in stillness. He would sit quietly for hours, thinking, drawing, solving invisible problems in his mind. He once said, if you think you can do a thing or think you can't do a thing, you're right. To Ford, thinking wasn't passive, it was action. The first step toward innovation was mental construction, long before the physical. Many people believe that success comes from doing more. Ford believed it came from doing better. And better begins with thought. He didn't rush into new models or flashy ideas. He studied failures. He observed the mistakes of competitors. He questioned conventional wisdom. Then, only when the idea was refined, did he begin the real-world building process. His golden rule wasn't just for engineers, it was a philosophy for life. Think before you speak. Think before you act. Think before you spend. Think before you react. He believed most failure in life comes not from lack of talent, but lack of preparation. And preparation begins with thought. When asked why he paid workers so well, Ford didn't say it was for loyalty or PR. He said, the best customer is the one who can afford to buy your product. That's the mind of a thinker. He wasn't just building cars, he was building ecosystems. And thinking long-term allowed him to shape an economy that supported his vision. Even when Ford failed, like when his early companies collapsed, he didn't panic. He returned to thought. He analyzed. He adjusted. He learned. And each time he came back stronger. His failures didn't break him. They refined him. The famous assembly line wasn't invented in a burst of inspiration. It was the result of deep analysis. Ford studied meatpacking plants, watched the flow of materials, and thought, what if the product moved instead of the worker? That single question revolutionized manufacturing forever. Thinking allowed Ford to see what others missed. While most were focused on building better cars, Ford built a better system. That's why Napoleon Hill studied him, not just for his products, but for his process. Ford's mind worked like an engine, powerful, steady, and constantly turning. He believed thought was a moral responsibility. That waste, in any form, time, energy, money, was a failure to think. He simplified everything, not to make it easier, but to make it clearer. Clear thoughts create clear actions. Clear actions create massive results. Ford's story reminds us that the secret to success is not always found in hustle. It's often hidden in stillness, in silence, and asking the right questions, and imagining solutions before chasing action. His factories were loud, but his genius was quiet. What most don't realize is how controversial Ford's ideas were at the time. The business world laughed at the idea of raising wages. Industry giants criticized his slow, methodical thinking. But while others built for the short term, Ford was laying a foundation. He saw a bigger picture, one that extended beyond profits to impact. His thinking also extended to education. He believed that schools were producing clerks, not creators. He advocated for learning by doing, but only after thinking. He once said, "Thinking is the hardest work there is," which is probably the reason so few engage in it. It was both a challenge and a truth. Even in personal matters, Ford was deliberate. He chose simplicity in clothing, clarity in speech, and consistency in habits. He understood that distraction was the enemy of depth. That's why his entire life was structured around thinking deeply and acting precisely. Henry Ford didn't build an empire by accident. He designed it in his mind, piece by piece, vision by vision. He saw the power of human potential, but only when directed by clear thought. In a world that rewards noise, speed, and reaction, Henry Ford is a reminder that the real breakthroughs happen when we slow down and think with intention. If Henry Ford's golden rule inspired you today, don't just keep watching, start thinking. What can you build in your life if you start with clarity, purpose, and focus? Subscribe for more powerful insights like this one, and leave a comment telling us, what's your next big idea? Your thoughts are the first brick in your future.